Vladimir Putin reminding the world that he has no qualms about intentionally bombing and murdering innocent civilians in Ukraine, just to make a point. In a savage and brutal act of revenge, the Russian tyrant unleashing a widespread and deadly barrage of missiles on civilian targets and infrastructure sites in cities across the entire country of Ukraine. This is a well-known pedestrian bridge in Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, a popular tourist attraction right in the heart of the city. Surveillance video showed the massive blast that rocked the bridge. It's damaged, but still standing. A different camera angle shows a man narrowly escaping the explosion and then running away as shattered glass and chunks of bridge came raining down. And this is a smoking crater right next to a children's playground in Kyiv. Pieces of the missile still smoldering just feet away from jungle gyms. Ukrainian officials say the wave of strikes killed at least 14 people. This is how widespread they were, from the city of Lviv, near the border with Poland, a NATO ally, all the way to Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city near the Russian border. Putin says the strikes were in retaliation for this, the huge explosion that collapsed part of Russia's bridge to Crimea, a critical supply line for Russian troops in Ukraine. Russia is accusing Ukraine of blowing it up with a truck bomb. Now, Kyiv has not officially taken responsibility. Regardless, it was a humiliating and deeply personal blow to Vladimir Putin. The bridge is a symbol of his power and Russia's annexation of Crimea. Putin personally drove a truck across that bridge for its opening ceremony in 2018. In a televised address, he's now threatening even more strikes if Ukraine continues to commit what he calls terrorist acts on our territory. After today's attacks, a defiant Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky went out into the streets of the capital, Kyiv. He says Russia also used Iran kamikaze drones, in addition to those missiles. Zelensky says many of the strikes targeted the power grid to knock out electricity to civilians.
The morning is hard. We are dealing with terrorists. They seek panic and chaos. They want to destroy our energy system. They are hopeless. The second target is people. They deliberately choose such a time, such goals, in order to cause as much harm as possible.
Ukraine's military refusing to be intimidated as it continues to recapture territory and drive the Russians back. Ukraine's defense ministry tweeting that Russia's strikes against civilians will only make their resolve stronger. Reporting now from our sister network Sky News and its correspondent Alex Crawford. She witnessed the destruction from one of the strikes in the city of Dnipro.
The huge mushroom cloud created is captured by a driver on the other side of the road. Imagine the naked fear felt by those in the middle of all this. This was the north side of Dnipro, one of Ukraine's biggest cities. And the attacks here were replicated across a string of other cities throughout the country. It is by far the most widespread series of Russian attacks since the start of the war, hitting 11 key infrastructure facilities in 8 separate regions. Quite a record, with the war now in its 8th month. This was the crater caused in Dnipro by that double hit in a residential area. There are several apartment blocks around, and it's on a busy bus route.
This wave of Russian attacks across the country has dramatically upped the ante and suggests far from giving up, the Russian leader has once again doubled down.
The residents trying to piece together their lives are full of fury.
Russisch Schwein.
And millions saw a young student narrowly escape death on her way to university. But amidst the fear and horror, the indomitable spirit of the Ukrainian people was on full display, helping each other on this, the very worst day the country's seen in months. The capital's residents took to underground shelters again, but their response was this. Patriotic songs sung heartily and with great gusto. Difficult to imagine, but there could have been even more destruction, more flattened homes and deaths. Yet the Russian leadership's threatening more attacks. There's no end in sight to this misery. In fact, it's just escalated several notches. For the news, I'm Alex Crawford.